Hi everybody, it's Keren here from tuppencecoloured.co.uk and thank you very much for joining me for today's Inspiring Blog Hop Challenge project. Now, if you want to know about the Inspiring Blog Hop, if you start at my blog, and there's a link in the description box below, that'll tell you all about it, and you can work your way around all the projects that the rest of my teammates have come up with. Today's theme is autumn. And as of right now, I've only got the slightest idea of what it is I'm going to be making. So this could be interesting. Stay with me and we'll see what we come up with. Here are the things that I've pulled out so far. One of the things that I do when I'm die cutting is if I've got a bit of extra card, rather than just cut out one piece of card with the die that I'm using, I'll cut out a few of them, and I found this in my little bag of die cut pieces. So it's been cut with the Swirly Scribbles dies and it's in early espresso, so I think I want to use that. So I think I'm probably going to make some kind of card with an autumn wreath on it. I like this colour. It's Pool Party, so again this is from my pre-cut bits. I probably intended to use it on a card and then change my mind about the colour. So it's 3 3/4 by 5.5. I haven't really made much use of this embossing folder yet. It's the Tin Tile Dynamic Embossing folder. It's got a really gorgeous pattern, and I want to play with it, and I haven't done it much with it, so I think I'm going to use that one. And I want to make a gatefold card, a double gatefold card. So I've cut 2 pieces of soft suede that are 5 3/4 by 8 inches. All right, so those are going to be my card base, and I'm going to use my layering circles framelets. I'm going to bring this one back and decide which of these I want to use. Now that one's going to be too big, and that's also going to be a bit too big. What about this one? Slightly too small, so I'm going to go with that one, which is not the largest, not the second largest, it's the third largest. I have one of the pieces of soft suede, and I've scored and folded it halfway at 4 inches, and on one of the 4-inch panels I've marked 1 inch from the top, and I've measured and marked the halfway mark, which is 2 inches. So now I'm going to take my circle die and I'm going to line that up with the center line that I've drawn, and I'm going to go over to my big shot and I'm going to cut that out. I'll be back in a second. So here it is with my aperture nicely cut out. Now I'm going to bring in my other piece of soft suede, and I'm going to put this piece on top of it just like that. So I've come in from the right and I'm lining those up. Now this is a piece of post-it. It's the super sticky kind, so it's the kind that's got it's got post-it adhesive all over the back of it, and just a little bit that isn't sticky. So it's kind of like a reverse post-it note, if you will. And I'm just going to use that now to line up my die, and I'm going to go back and cut the aperture out of this piece. And now I've got 2 pieces of card, each with an aperture, and I'm going to bring in my scoreboard, and along those pencil lines that I drew, which should line up to 2 inches, I'm going to score top and bottom, and same thing here, top and bottom. This is going to be my masking piece, and I am going to cut it in half eventually down that line, but first of all I want to cut the aperture out of the middle of it. So I'm going to line it up with my base card. I'm going to put that face down, and I'm going to put it where I want it to be. I'm going to hold it in place just for now with my little bit of postie. Flip it over, and here's another one of my post-it circles. There we go. So that now is going to be what I'm going to need to cut out. But actually, I think I'm going to go to the next circle up. So that was the one that I used to cut the aperture. But I'm going to go to the next size up, which will be this one. Okay, so I'm going to line that up. I'm just kind of centering it by eye, just making sure that I've got a nice even a nice even border all the way around. And that seems to be pretty much where I want it. So it would help if I turned it over to the cutting side. Yeah, that would work better, wouldn't it, Keren? That would have been disappointing. Right. So. Okay. So I'm going to do 3 things before I come back. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out my aperture. The second thing is that I'm going to cut it in half. And the third thing is that I am going to emboss it in my tin tile embossing folder. I just want to mention this is one of the thick dynamic embossing folders, so I'm only going to use 1 cutting plate with it, not 2. Alright, so I'm going to go away, do that, and I will be back in a little. So here are my 2 card fronts, and I've gone in and I've burnished the folds with my Teflon folder, and I've cut about 1/16 of an inch, just a little strip away from the edge of this piece, so that when they fold together, they meet nicely. Now, when I was doing my die cutting, my card must have slipped, or the die slipped, or I didn't measure it quite properly, which knowing me would be entirely possible, and they are kind of out of sync, but that's not a problem, we can fix that. So what we're going to do is we're going to use liquid adhesive, because with liquid adhesive you get wiggle time, and we're going to line this up so that the apertures look right. Okay, just going to move that around. Okay, alright, and now I'm going to take my ruler, cutting mat, and craft knife, which is in my little bag of tricks here. And I'm just going to trim these so that they're level. Okay. Because nobody will really notice if your card is about 1/4 of an inch short, but they will definitely notice if your aperture isn't a true circle. Alright, now ideally they wouldn't have kind of slipped apart in the machine, but you know what, we all make mistakes, and I thought I'd show you how to correct that one. I'm going to do some dry brushing on these panels, which I have trimmed down to match my card, so that I've taken that little bit off the bottom. So I've got a tiny little bit of the copper shimmer paint on my brush, and I'm actually taking most of it off on a piece of paper towel until I've got almost none left. And now I'm just going to just go over the surface of my panels, and it's just, I'm going in all different directions, and I'm keeping going, haven't reloaded my brush. Can you see how that's, texture is just picking up the copper paint? I'm going to carry on with this, and I'm going to do the other one in just the same way, and I will be back. I have been into my scraps box and I have pulled out pieces of card in all sorts of autumnal colours. So I've got some cherry cobbler, I've got some crushed curry, I've got a bit of, I think that is mossy meadow, mango melody, Cajun craze, a bit of soft suede. They're all in there. So now I'm going to build up my wreath, and I'm going to start working on the back of the wreath because I want to give this a little bit more substance. So I'm going to start with the leaf punch. So I've used the leaf punch and the sprig because I want to make this a bit more solid. Right, I'm working on my silicone mat. This is going to get a little bit messy, but hey ho, it's the nature of the beast. Okay, so I'm quite happy with the way that is looking. So now I'm going to put some adhesive onto the back of my card here, just on this side. And I'm going to decide, how do I want my wreath? Which way around do I want it? That way looks good. So I'm going to stick that down onto the front of my card. I'm going to hold it down with something heavy while it sets. Okay. Did a little bit of digging in my stash of die cut shapes, and I found I had another one of these, and I think I'm going to put it on top of the wreath just to hide those the ends of those leaves and those sprigs, because they're a little bit untidy and they're bothering me a little bit. So with a little bit of my liquid adhesive, and I'm just going to pop that over the top what I've already got there. And yeah, I'm a little bit happier with that. This is the piece that was cut out of the panel to go on the front of the card, and I'm going to use it to carry the sentiment on the inside. And I've chosen Give Thanks, which is from Labels to Love. And as you can see, I've just given the card a jolly good coat of embossing buddy. And I'm just going to eyeball this one, so pray for me and hope that it comes out well. Just giving that a little bit of time for the ink to set up. And I have copper embossing powder here, which I absolutely adore. I've got my little tidy tray handy, but actually I don't think I'm going to need it. I think I'm just going to be able to. Okay, well that's a little bit sketchy. in on those leaves. They didn't, but I think it will work because it's a fairly grungy sort of card. Embossing too long. Alright, so all that remains to do is for me to place my sentiment where I want it. So I want it to be kind of visible through the aperture in the middle, which is sort of like that. A bit of my trusty liquid adhesive on the back. And I'm going to call that one complete. So that is it finished. And I'm going to call it finished because actually I could probably carry on tweaking this for days. For example, I could have put some of my punched leaves and sprigs around that side, so that would have added an extra layer when the card was opened. But it's taken quite long enough. I'm going to call it a day, and thank you very, very much for staying with me this far. Considering I didn't have a very clear idea of what I was going to end up with, I don't think it's ended up too badly really. A couple of changes of design direction along the way, but I hope you've enjoyed your visit with me today. That is it for now. Once again, very, very happy to have had you with me, and I hope I'll see you again sometime soon. Bye bye.